All right, YouTube. So today we got an interesting topic. I had a couple people ask me about this, and I also had a topic idea for this already. The topic that we got today, if you already don't know or you didn't read the description, is going to college, doing school or something like that, versus following your dream, being a producer. Uh, so a lot of you know that have always followed my journey. I've been making beats since I was about 19 years old. I'm 26 now, so it's been a good, 7 years or so that I've been making beats. Well, part of that 7 years of me making beats, I spent 4 of them in college. I actually started making beats in college, and I always had a music interest and an art interest, and that's kind of what led me to start making beats and take a degree in graphic design. So it's an artistic route that I went as well with that. So I get a lot of questions about the pros and the cons of school, following your dream as a producer. Now, this doesn't have to strictly be related to producers. Everything that I'm telling you is information that's good, even if you're following your dream of being a rapper, a basketball player, football player, um, firefighter, police officer. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do in life, going to getting a formal education versus whatever your dream is, whether that be something that includes a formal education or if that's something that's just like a trait or some type of skill or a hobby you have that's profitable. So first, we're going to start off with producer stuff. So we're going to talk about the producer aspect first, and we're going to go through the pros and cons of being a producer, and then I'll go through the pros and cons of going to school, and then at the end, I actually got a bonus tip for you guys that I think will help everybody out in this whole that's in this type of situation. So the first thing that I can start this off with by saying is the first pro is learning how to make beats is free to do. That's like one of the biggest pros. It is free to do. You can learn to make beats for free. You're watching this YouTube video right now for free. You can go and watch other videos for free. You can get music theory books and producing books and engineering books and watch other videos and everything like that for free. You can go and meet somebody and link up with them, work with them if they're willing to work with you for free. So learning to make music and starting music does not cost you anything initially aside from the equipment. So if we're taking out the equipment, but take the equipment aspect out, but you learning how to do it, you can absolutely learn for free. That's probably one of the biggest pros to producing. It's a free thing. It's a hobby. You can go ahead and get started pretty easily. It's pretty quick and easy. Um, the next pro that it kind of piggybacks off of that, it being free, is it being fun and a creative outlet. So when I'm making beats, it's not really like a stress thing. Like I'm not stressed out. I'm not like when I was in school. It's not like I got to study for this test Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday I have the test, and so I'm stressing all week. It's not like that. Producing is just you just take it as you go. You can go at your own pace. You can learn fast. You can learn slow. A lot of people during my journey, my process, said that I learned very quickly. I had a couple of friends in college and friends from back home that were producers and had made beats, and they were the ones that kind of first started showing me how to make beats, and they went on to tell me that you learned pretty quick. You started getting placements that were major placements, like a little bit after a year. I think I had like my first million play song like at a year like of making beats, and I think that first no, I had my first bigger song was the one with LC Levi. Dang, I cannot think. He said Zanny's kicking my ass again. I cannot think right now. I've made so many songs. Any which way, somebody drop it in the comment section. The name of that song, I cannot think. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and check it out right now. But that was one of the first songs that I made. I think that ended up getting about like 200K or something like that. Let me find this song because it's gonna uh mess with me if I can't remember what it's what it's called. And people still ask me about that song today. Everybody liked that one. I cannot remember because LC Levi's pretty cool dude. Backseat Shawty, yeah, that's what it is. So Backseat Shawty, that was one of my favorite songs, and I made that after about a year of producing. It got up to like 250K or something like that, right? So like I said, it's a fun creative outlet. When I began producing, it was cool going to Atlanta or New York or California, different places, meeting up with different artists and producers, engineers, and things like that. So that was one thing that I really enjoyed. So it's a fun creative outlet. It's something to kind of pull you away from things like school, work, and things like that because it's an outlet. So that's another pro. Another pro about producing. The good thing is producing. Like I said, you can start beginning to learn for free essentially, and are very cheap, and then you can begin to make money very fast and very easily as well. So when I first started making beats, it didn't take me long to just start making the beats, putting them out on beat stores, DMing artists DMing me, people messaging me, posting stuff and being tagged and things like that. Other people tagging me and stuff, and I started to be able to generate money just off of people hitting me up and wanting to inquire about beats. So you can make money off of beats fairly quickly and fairly easily. Setting the price is important when you're setting your price of beats. You want to be competitive and comparable with people, but you don't want to cut yourself short, and then you don't want to charge an astronomical price that the average person is not going to pay for, basically. So it can generate money. It can be a money generator. So that's always a plus. Anything that you can make money off of that is a skill or a hobby or something that you do well and you enjoy, you'll never get tired of doing it. It won't feel like it's a job or any type of work, right? The next thing that I don't really think many people think about is well, I'll give you a little background on me. I come from a background of all entrepreneurs and business owners. My whole family on my father's side, all they do is, have their own business. They work for themselves. One thing that my dad had mentioned to me when I was really young, I asked him, Dad, why do you get in the profession that you're in? And he told me because it'll never die. And then he explained to me the reason why it will never die is because the service that he provides will never go away. So my dad is a cosmetologist. He does hair. There's people born every single day, all day, every day that have hair and are growing hair. So hair will never stop growing. Hair will always be cut. So if you go the route of being a barber or something like an electrician or um, a mechanic or things like that, teachers, lawyers, whatever the case may be, those jobs and those things will never die. The same thing with producing. Music will never die. People will listen to music have been listening to music since the beginning of time and will listen to music to the end of time. Something as simple as people beating on drums in the Congos in Africa or shaking tambourines down in South America or whatever the case may be. Music will never die. So creating music will not be something that you have to worry about. This is a job that's going to eventually get obsolete or like robots or take over or something crazy. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, producing and being creative with music will never die. Um, so that leads me to the next pro. The next pro is you get to create a sound. So I think a lot of people can 100% agree that myself and Chinatown and other producers within that same genre and same lane have absolutely 100% without a shadow of a doubt created a sound that is still prevalent and still growing to today. I still think this sound is actually still in its infancy stage, in my opinion. So like the SoundCloud era, the SoundCloud wave, where people are always talking about 2016, 2015, 2017, Playboy Cardi, Lil Yachty, Young Bands, Thousand Band Fani, Uno, all those people. I don't really think that sound has ended at all. I actually think that was kind of the start of it, and now it's just kind of like, well, what's next? What are we going to do from here with this sound? I think that was going to kind of help push that sound even more to the mainstream for us to actually hear it a lot more. For you to start hearing these artists on the radio, would take another artist that's kind of like Little Yachty well, that's really my example. I think another artist like Little Yachty needs to emerge from the underground like that with that sound, and I think that's what's going to kind of help push that SoundCloud sound again uh, further into the mainstream. I think that's what it's going to take. But you get to create a new sound. I think people went from one particular regular trap type sound that you hear on the radio or your typical stuff to myself and other producers have created this different type of ambient, weird, hyper pop, synthy type trap, what I'm saying, dream trap type of sound. So the sound will never die. You'll always be creative with the sound. Um, so I think those are the pros. So now we're going to kind of switch over and go to the cons of producing. So with the cons, even though I mentioned money before of it being cheap for you to start and you can make money, money is not guaranteed. I can't guarantee you're going to make money. The biggest part of making money off of producing is having enough clientele that are going to reach out and want to get money or get beats from you. And how can I put it? You have to have a wide pool, right? So the most selling producers probably have a larger fan base, whether it be like they actually have clout or attention from artists or anything like that, that made their following a lot larger. Those people are going to sell a lot, and then the people that are on these other selling sites that have been on there for a while and really flood the streets are in every avenue, but they may not necessarily be the people that have the massive following. They just are everywhere. So you want to stretch your pool out wide, right? So you want to cast a large net. So like for example, you ever seen like fishermen in Alaska, right? And they're on that ship, and the ship's going crazy, and they're going like water's just everywhere, right? If you were to be a fisherman in that situation, it wouldn't make sense if there was 10 fishermen on this boat and everybody had their rod and reel and was trying to catch fish. These people are trying to catch a massive amount of fish. That's just why they throw a big net out there and scoop up as much as they can, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to cast a big net and scoop up as many artists as possible. So you'd want to create different sounds, link with different artists, solicit to other artists. Like even if seems like a person that may not necessarily be on your style or your sound or whatever, just go ahead and solicit to them. For my background, as far as outside of music, my personal life, I work in sales, so I have to do this every day, dealing with somebody and trying to convince them to buy things. And I'm selling products, so I have a pretty good idea of how that works. You want to cast your net wide. It's kind of like shooting your shot at girls. It wouldn't make sense for you to go to the club and speak to 5 girls if you want to get numbers, because out of those 5, you're probably not going to get every girl. You're not going to get every girl's number. You're going to get maybe one. But if you cast your net out wide and you speak to 15, 20, 10, 15, 20 girls in one night, you're more than likely to get more than that just one number. The same applies in producing. You want to cast your net wide, solicit to as many artists and producers and engineers and whomever, so that you can get as many possible, they're called leads. So you can get as many possible leads to come back to you, right? So money is not guaranteed. The next thing is the reason why the money is not guaranteed is because it's too heavily saturated. There's too many producers out there. There's too many producers that will sit here and say, hey, I got 10 beats for $10. It's a flash sale. Come buy beats. That's ruining the game. All these producers that selling beats for 10, 15, $20, you're ruining the game. And that's why you're selling your beats for 10 or $15, because you have to compete with other people that have a higher value than you, but are cutting themselves short. You know what I mean? So it'd be like, for example, say you got Metro Boomin and Zaytoven, right? And I could contact Metro Boomin and Zaytoven, and I ask them how much are beats. Now we know Metro Boomin and Zaytoven have made millions of songs, millions of plays, probably have generated millions of dollars. It would be absurd of them for me to contact them, ask them for a beat, and they say, yeah, I can send you 10 beats right now for $200. Everybody would jump on that. Everybody would start buying beats from those people, and the people that are beneath the Zaytovens and the Metro Boomers are going to be like, well, dang, Zaytoven and Metro Boomers selling beats for like 10, 15 bucks a pop, basically. I don't have a choice but to stay competitive. I need to sell my beats for $5, $2, something cheap like that, if it worked in that perspective. So it's heavily oversaturated. So if you're going to be a producer and be out there, whatever you feel like your value is or your price is, you need to stick to it. So if you feel like your leases are worth $200, do not fall short of that. Like, get your $200. If you feel like your leases are worth $50, get your $50. Whatever you price yourself at, stick to that. Don't fluctuate. Don't change. You can throw deals and do stuff depending on the person and whatnot, but selling beats for like under $50, in my personal opinion, is crazy, because you got to take in consideration, if this was like an hourly type job, would you want to work like bust your ass for an hour, 2 hours, and get paid like $10? I wouldn't, especially in something that you love to do, something that's your craft, something that you've worked hard in for years. I've worked hard at making beats for 7 years. I'm not selling you a beat for $50. I'm not selling you a beat for $10, and you're definitely not gonna get 10 of them for $100. That's not gonna happen. So just like I said, money's not guaranteed, and it's heavily oversaturated. So you have to make yourself stick out and stand out. Now that kind of leads me to the next point, which this one is the most unfortunate con when it comes to producing. that I don't think people take in major consideration is popularity will always outbeat skill. So let's say we got a producer like Zaytoven, makes some crazy keys, makes those beats the way that he does, but nobody knows about Zaytoven like that. Nobody really follows him. And then you got somebody that does like you know how people make jokes about DJ Mustard making like beats with like one or two keys on it, or maybe three keys or something like that. It'd be like you had a producer like that, but they have millions of followers, and then you got Zaytoven trying to do the same thing, but he's got like 2,000 followers, right? So popularity is going to always beat out skill. So you do got to kind of rub elbows and be cool with people, but don't be the wave rider. Don't be the one that's always trying to be everybody's friend, for a lack of better terms. We got to keep it G-rated on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So don't be a wave rider, but popularity is always going to outbeat skill. So being cool with people, be your face card is very key in the music industry. Keep your face card clean. So that's one tip. And the next one I got for you is time consuming. Making beats is time consuming. It does take up your time, even if it's 10 minutes, if it's 15 minutes, or it's 2 minutes. It does take up time. So what I've learned from in sales and working my job is I don't like trading my time for money because you have to sit there and actually be there present. I'd rather sell the product. So what I would say to producers to avoid this time, making it time consuming, get a workflow, make yourself shortcuts, learn the shortcuts on your FL Studio, and and try to make your workflow as efficient as possible. So you're using as less time as possible, so you can make as many beats as you can, but still keep the quality there. So if it takes you normally an hour to make one beat, that's fine. There's no problem with that. But if there's little parts where you can like shave off time and cut that down to 45 minutes, that means in the same time it would take you to do I don't know, 4 beats. Now you can squeeze out a fifth beat because you've saved 15 minutes 4 times, and now you have an extra hour to go squeeze out an extra beat. So it's time consuming, which, you know, with it taking up time can cause burnout. So be cautious of that. I mentioned that in another video. Uh, Another con that I'll throw in there as a caveat is the sound changes abruptly. You'll go from one type of particular sound to the next sound, and it could be like literally a matter of weeks. It could all it would take is just you have one type of heavy trap artist making a song, and he pops and blows up, right? And then you have something that's kind of totally different on the other spectrum, but still in the rap genre to drop something, and now the sound has kind of altered a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's the next thing. So now we're gonna move on to school, right? So we're going to talk about school. This video is going to be a little bit longer, but we're going to talk about school. So the next thing we got on topic for pros are for school would be school can be free, right? So when I was in school, I did get a couple of scholarships. My school wasn't free, but I did get scholarships. I had the life scholarship and a couple more. But if you're from, I think life scholarships in the Carolina, South Carolina. That's where I'm from. I don't know if that scholarship's available other places, but I had one particular, my big scholarship that I had. One of them was a life scholarship. So the life scholarship, it allowed me to basically cut my school expense in half of what I would have paid had I not gotten that. So it can be free. So if you're an athlete, if you're a musician, if you're an artist, or whatever the case may be, if you're really smart and you've got great grades, school can be free for you. So school could be a cheap route for you. It just depends if that's going to work out for you. Um, so that leads me to the next one. School will definitely create a career path for you. Um, so what I mean by that is, and to add to that, it creates a career path, but if you're going to put all your heart into your passion and something that you really love and care about, something like producing, school should kind of be your plan B. You should put your plan A as what you really, really want to do, and then make your fallback or your plan B the thing that's guaranteed, right? So I can't guarantee you success as a producer, but I can guarantee if you go to school and you become a registered nurse, I can guarantee you're going to get a job. You know what I'm saying? I can guarantee you're going to make money. You just have to do what it takes to get the accolades and the certificate to graduate. I can guarantee you that. I can't guarantee that if you spend all this time producing that you're going to become the next best producer. I can't guarantee that to you. So school will at least give you like a guaranteed path, guaranteed money. Well, not guaranteed money, but a guaranteed path. Me personally, I use my graphic design degree as more of a caveat or add-on to my producing and my music abilities. I don't put that on Front Street first. So basically, my graphic design is my plan B, but it's still slash my plan A because my graphic design and my music go hand in hand because I've made album covers for other people and album covers for all myself for all the projects that I've done and things like that. So mine is a little bit different. They kind of go hand in hand. But if you were to be a producer and say you do want to be a registered nurse or something like that, those two don't go hand in hand. Um, but school can actually create a career path for you, something that is like you're guaranteed you can make money off of this because you have the certification, you have the skill. Um, Going to school makes you employable. So the best part about going to school is you have that certificate and that degree to be able to say, hey, I am certified in doing this. I've been formally trained, and I deserve X amount of pay due to the fact that accomplished this accolade of finishing school. So it makes you employable. So, for example, if I went to go and apply for a graphic design job, and there is a design job that is there's a competition between me and you, right? Now I have the degree and you don't, right? More than likely, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick me due to the fact that I have the degree and the formal education, and I can show you the plaque and the letter on the wall where it says University of South Carolina graduate and all that good stuff. Whereas the other person has to just show you experience, like here's where I made this, here's where I made that, here's where I made this. Now both people are going to have to do this, right? In both instances. But the person who does not have the degree, they're going to be more likely to try to pay you less because you don't have that degree. Now you can get just as many jobs, you can get paid just as much even without the degree. But in most people's heads, when they see and you're applying for an employer, say you were trying to apply for a job at Disney, and it's me with the degree versus you without the degree, you could be the slightly better designer, but I may get the job over you just because I have that degree. So sometimes having that little expensive piece of paper or that certificate makes the difference. So that's a pro for that I have to give to school for that. Now the next thing, it kind of it goes with school, but it has nothing to do with school to a degree. The best thing that I enjoyed most about being in college, 100% hands down, was the social life. You meet new people, you make new friends, and you learn a heck of a lot more about yourself. You're usually people that's going to school. You're going from being at home with parents and in that type of situation to literally being out on your own, to being growing to be a young adult. So those things like social life, meeting people, going out to parties, having a good time, those groom and cultivate you to make you the person that you're going to end up becoming and actually allow you to be the person who you really are and actually allows you to flourish and blossom as that person. So the biggest thing that I learned from school was not any type of formal education or anything like that. It was actually the social skills and the social life that I gained by going to school, to be honest with you. Um, Now, the next pro, very last pro that I have for school is the certification equals more pay and more qualified, which kind of leads back to my last point, so I won't stick on this too much. But having that piece of paper or that certification could be the difference in a hire or a fire or a hire and denied. So if that is the route you want to go, stick to it, finish it, but have a plan. You need to have a plan. If you're going to school, don't say I'm going to school for business. Okay, cool. You're going to school for business. Awesome. Now, what business are you going to open? And then there's crickets. People don't know. You see what I'm saying? I dealt with a customer the other day that she said she was going to school for business. I said that's awesome. That's a good thing. Business is the best way for you to make your money. And then I asked her, what business do you want? She had no idea. That's a terrible way to go to school. You need to know exactly what you're going to do. You need to set out a plan. You need to formulate it, and you need to step by step knock out these goals to get it done. So you need to start off with a plan. Think of what your end goal is in life, and then everything that comes before your end goal, that's what you need to figure out. So if your end goal is, you know what, I want to be a bike shop owner that repairs and sells bikes. Well, I want a business degree so I know how to run my business. Well, if that's your case, then you need to whatever happens before you're the bike shop owner, all that stuff behind it, you need to figure out. You need to find out if you need to intern there at a bike shop, how to fix bikes, where to buy bikes from. You need to get involved in bikes as much as you can so that once you learn the business of how bikes operating, how it works and how that business works, then now you're qualified to be able to take the information of what you learned when you were working in the bike business as just like a employee, as an account or an assistant or whatever, and then you take your formal education, you mold the two together, and you create your business system and your business idea. So a certification equals more pay and more qualified in the eyes of most people. Now the cons to school. These cons are heavy when it comes to school. I'm not going to lie to you. They are heavy, but the pros are heavy as well. So cons are, it can be free, but it can be super expensive to go to school. There's millions of people out here every day that are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I watched a podcast by Dave Ramsey, and a guy called in and he said he's $1 million in debt. Not a thousand, not 200,000, 300,000. This man said $1 million in debt. And I believe his degree was something like along the lines of like accounting, and he had like a master's degree or something and went to some prestigious elite school. That man's going to be working for the rest of his life to pay off his debt, and when he dies, his family's still going to have to continue to pay off of that debt. So it can be expensive. Um, Basically, that's the way of saying the juice may not be worth the squeeze. So that's when you got to figure out, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth going to school, getting into a possible debt for me to achieve this accomplishment? Is it going to be worth it? Which is why I say you need to have a plan at the end, because that's what's going to make it worth it to you or not. The next thing is the con with school is you could get a great job, you could enjoy it, but it could be a dead end job, something that you're not going to enjoy, something you wouldn't do long term, or something you just don't like. It could just be something that you did it because you felt like it was the next thing to do, was the next thing in line. Oh, I finished high school, got to go to school. Parents want me to go to school. I'll do that. I'll figure out some type of degree to make money, and now you're at a job that you hate. That's going to drain you dry. You don't want to be in that type of position. Um, And also too, with that being in a dead end job, that leads to the next point of it may not make you happy. So as corny as it sounds, YOLO, you only have one life to live. You get one single life, one. So you better not mess it up, and you better enjoy it, right? And you don't want to take on a degree. Now you have to pay this degree back, but the only way you can pay it back is by following through with the the degree and getting a job in that field that you may not necessarily love, and now you don't know what to do. Now you're unhappy. You have this degree, you have the debt and everything. You accomplished what you did, but you didn't have a plan, and therefore you're unhappy because you're stuck in a situation. It's like, wow, I got to pay all this debt back, and I work at this job that sucks, and I don't like it, but and I did all of this for sometimes other people, or I thought this was the best decision for me, but now I'm kind of stuck in a rut. That's a con that could happen. So that's why it's important to have a plan. I cannot stress that enough. If you have a plan, school is great. If you do not have a plan, I do not suggest it. I really don't. If you don't have a plan, you need to sit back, wait until you figure out what it is that you want to do. So that leads me to the next point. The next point is you could spend 4 years at school, right? Or you could spend 4 years working. So you're eight. So let's take you and I for example. I'm 18. You're 18. I go to school. You didn't go to school. So now 4 years pass by, and I'm 22, right? So I'm 22 years old. Now you're 22 years old. I'm 22 years old with anywhere from like $30,000 in debt on up, right? For average education, I could have. Let's just say for numbers' sake, I got $100,000 in debt. So I'm at 100, or yeah, I got $100,000 in debt, right? And now I haven't been in the workforce for 4 years. I've held down regular little everyday jobs, Walmart, grocery store, working on campus, or things like that, right? But the person that did not go to school has no debt. Number one, they have zero debt unless they got like car stuff or anything like that. But they have little to no debt, and they've been working from 18 to 22 in some type of field. Say this person that's 18 and didn't go to school, work in the field of, they were a apprentice for HVAC. So now they spent 4 years as an apprentice for HVAC, and I spent 4 years as being a college student. So now I'm 22, he's 22. He's 22, and he's kind of beginning to go into the position of he's moving up in HVAC. Now he could start his own HVAC thing, get a crew running, and get the crew going. Whereas I'm just starting from level one. So where he was at 18 is where I am now at 22. Plus I have the debt. Do you see what I mean? So you have to look at that and take that into accountability. And I don't think that's something that people actually think about in the end. So you have the two versions of people. There's the 18-year-old that went to school and has several years of debt and is several years behind. And you have the 18-year-old that didn't go to school, has no debt, and is several years theoretically ahead if he plays his cards right. And the last con is something I've already been mentioning is the no plan equals time wasted. If you don't have a plan for school, your time is wasted. There's really no more to really be said about that because I feel like all the cons have all suggested that if you do not have a plan, school is not a good idea to just jump into. If you have a plan, it can be the greatest thing for you and your best decision. It just depends on how you play your cards. Again, so like I said, I promise you guys a bonus tip. It's not a pro or con for either or. It is a bonus tip. My bonus tip, after me personally, my personal opinion, after going to school, after being a producer and being successful with that, being successful in school, being successful after school with my profession, and the profession that I'm in now in sales, I would highly suggest for any person that is thinking about following their passion and their dream and going to school, if you're not sure 100% on what you want to do, that person needs to learn a trade or some type of skill. So by trade and skill, I mean something like cosmetology, barbering, mechanic, HVAC, what else am I missing? Electrician, nail tech, like anything that you can get certified in like a year or two or something like that, and begin to go ahead and just immediately go out into the workforce and start working, or even just start your own business from scratch from there. That I 100% will push a person to do that. Number one, these jobs and certifications can either be done online or at a tech school, right? So if you go online or go to a tech school, it's going to be 100% significantly cheaper. Usually the grants and the loans that you can get for that are a lot easier to get because they see it's a tech certification. It requires less money and you're at a smaller school anyway. I would highly suggest that you do that and learn a trade skill. If I could go back and spend the hands of time, I probably still would have gone to school and probably still got that graphic design degree, but I may have moved to a different area that I liked and then went to a tech school in that area and commuted back and forth in that area. So I still get the college experience and the experience that I like, but I'm not paying for the expense of being on a college campus and the expense of moving out of state or anything like that. I would highly suggest that everybody, if you don't know exactly what you're doing, or if you do have a plan, I would highly suggest that you learn some type of skill, some type of hand trade, something that is never going to sell. So, like my dad told me, hair always grows. There's hair on my head right now. I need a little tape up, a little cut now, so I'm gonna have to go and hit up pops. But like I've said, and like he told me, you need to have a plan, number one, and then have some type of skill or some type of something that will not go out of style, something that will it's always going to be there. So that's where you have your CNAs, your certified nursing assistants, your the nail techs, cosmetologists, uh, just any of those jobs that you can get a certification for or some type of associate's degree in a year or two or something like that. Get those jobs, begin working, get in the workforce, use the money or the training or the skills that you get from that job and either create your own business and go from there just from learning the system, or either use the skills that you learn. So say you like doing hair, say you're a chick that likes doing hair, right? And you're a cosmetologist. I keep using cosmetologist because that's the best thing I can give to you just do because of my dad. But say you're a cosmetologist, but your real dream and passion is something like another good one's personal trainer too, by the way. Let's say your dreams and passion are you want to open up an art studio where people can come in and they can sip wine and art. So I did that recently with a chick that I went out with, right? So you can sip wine, you can go and paint. That's her passion. She wants to open up an art studio, but she also does hair. She may use the hair skill and this hair trait to create the funds and everything to fund her business over here. Does that make sense? Whereas if she does that, let's say her cosmetology certification, everything costs her like 10 grand or something like that, 5 to 10 grand, because that's about right. That's average price if I'm not mistaken. So somewhere between 5 to 10 grand to get that certification. That is a lot easier to pay off than $100,000 in debt in a job that you may not like. Whereas she's going to take the skill that she enjoys doing, something that she could do forever, and she's going to use that money that she makes off of that to number one, pay the debt back, and then go over here and fund her business that she really wants to do within the art studio. So I hope this video helped you out. I know it was a long one. We're at about 35 minutes. It may be shaved down a little bit. But I really hope this helped you guys out. I really think the bonus tip is the one that's really going to kind of hit the nail on the head and put it in the coffin. I really do believe that if you don't know what you're doing for school or you don't know what your plan is, get some type of certification. I cannot stress that enough. I kind of hate seeing people that get the degree or go a certain route and it didn't work out for them because they did not have a plan. It kind of rubs me the wrong way because I hate that for that person. Um, but if I were you, I would learn some type of trade skill, and you will not fail because you'll always be employable. They're always looking for plumbers, electricians, mechanics, cosmetologists, barbers, personal trainers. All these people are always needed, right? So those jobs are typically cheaper to get for you to get into, and then they also still they pay out significantly well because they're skills. They're things that not the everyday person knows how to do. So that's the best advice I can give to you is versus producing versus going to school. If I could go back and spin the hands of time, I probably would do the example that I told you, but more than likely I probably should stick with the plan that I went with because then I wouldn't be able to have this advice to give to you guys, and it wouldn't hit as hard because I've lived that life of being able to tell you what it's like to be successful in making beats and music and going to school at the same time, and then the after effects. I think that's where I can really solidify what I'm talking about is the after effects because I've been out of school for several years. Um, but that's all I got for you guys today. I know it's a long one. I hope you guys stay with me to the end. If you guys want more information, more details, you got more questions, hit me up on all my social media, Milan Makes Beats. Hit me up on the Patreon if you want to get some really, really in-depth exclusive content. If you really want to go back and forth, set up a consultation where we can talk and make something happen like that. Again, hit me up on Patreon, DM me. We can chop it up on the phone. We can figure out something to kind of help you out. If you need some help, you need some advice, kind of help some, get some guidance or devise a plan. I'd be more than happy to help you with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like, leave a thumbs up, a comment. If you hate it, dislike it. But either which way, just engage with the content. It helps the algorithms. And I appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. Thank you.